In 1206, Temujin proclaimed himself Genghis Khan, the universal ruler, and set in motion the largest land conquest in human history. Within his own camp on the Mongolian steppes, he raised a boy from Song China who would train under his own generals, earn the loyalty of his youngest son, and swear brotherhood with his bloodline. And he would become the greatest hero the Wuxia world has ever known, not by serving the empire that made him, but by standing against it.
The Mongol Empire and the birth of a hero. On the vast expanse of the Mongolian steppes, Genghis Khan, commanding an army of unrelenting discipline and devastating force. To the south, the world trembles. But on the frozen northern plains, a woman is running for her life. Her name is Li Ping. Her husband, a loyal soldier of Song Dynasty, has been murdered. Betrayed by a corrupt official who sold out his own comrades to protect his position. With nowhere left to turn, Li Ping flees north, deep into Mongol territory.
Snow blankets the land. The cold is absolute. And somewhere on those frozen plains, Li Ping gives birth alone. Exhausted, far from home, with no one beside her. She names him Guo Jing, meaning tranquility. Perhaps in hope that his life would be gentler than his father's. It would not be. The Jebe story. Courage that changed everything. Growing up in the Mongol camp, Guo Jing is slow-witted and often underestimated. He does not impress people with cleverness or speed. But when the moment demands genuine courage, he acts without hesitation. One day, a man stumbles into Guo Jing's path, injured, exhausted, hunted by Mongol soldiers. The man's name is Jebe, one of the great archers of the Mongol world, and at that precise moment, an enemy of Genghis Khan himself. Without considering the risks, young Guo Jing hid the man and refused to tell anyone, even though he and his mother were beaten. Genghis Khan does not punish him. He is deeply, genuinely impressed. Here is a boy with no power, no status, no strategic advantage, and yet his courage and honesty are not calculated. They are instinctive. The great Khan looks at this child and sees something he has spent a lifetime building in his finest warriors, a character that does not bend under pressure. He commands his youngest and most beloved son, Louis, to take Guo Jing as his sworn brother. And to seal that bond with permanence, Genghis Khan makes a promise. One day, Guo Jing will marry Louis's younger sister, the Princess Hua Zheng. From that moment, Guo Jing is no longer a refugee surviving in the Mongol camp. He is family. Growing up between two worlds, Guo Jing grows up alongside Louis, and the two boys share everything. Hunting, riding, and learning together what it means to fight, to lead, and to be loyal. Side by side on the open steppe, through every season, through every lesson. But the Mongol camp is not his only school. 7 martial arts masters have crossed the Central Plains specifically to find him. The 7 Freaks of Jiangnan, bound by a wager made before Guo Jing's birth to train the son of their fallen comrade. Their methods are demanding, sometimes harsh, and for a naturally slow learner, often frustrating. The martial arts journey, from mediocre to legend. Despite his slow progress under the 7 Freaks, Guo Jing's transformation comes through an encounter that changes everything. Crossing paths with Hong Qigong, the Beggar King, one of the 5 greats and among the most powerful martial artists in the world, Guo Jing's innate character impresses the legendary master in ways that raw talent never could. Hong Qigong teaches him the 18 dragon-subduing palms, a technique of absolute, unbending power, designed not for the quick-witted, but for those with a pure heart and immovable will. In the hands of Guo Jing, whose strength of character far exceeds his intellect, the technique becomes devastating. Later, through the chaos and treacherous political landscape of the Jianghu, Guo Jing gains access to the 9 Yin Manual, the most comprehensive martial arts text in existence, fiercely contested by every major faction in the legendary duel on Mount Hua. Combined with the 18 dragons subduing palms and the internal energy cultivation guided by Ma Yu of the Chuanzhen sect, Guo Jing's power reaches a level that few in the entire history of the Jianghu have ever attained. The boy who barely passed the tests of the Seven Freaks becomes one of the most formidable warriors of his generation. But strength in Jin Yong's universe is never simply about power. It is always about what a warrior chooses to do with it. Samarkand, the victory he couldn't celebrate. By the time Guo Jing reaches adulthood, the Mongol war machine is advancing westward into Central Asia. Genghis Khan trusts him, not merely as a son-in-law to Hua Jing or a sworn brother to Tolui, but as a capable military commander in his own right. At Samarkand, one of the greatest cities of the medieval world, a jewel of Persian civilization, Guo Jing leads a Mongol force and achieves a decisive military victory. It is the peak of his service under the Mongol banner. The campaign succeeds, and Guo Jing cannot bring himself to feel triumphant. Because standing among the ruins of a conquered city, he confronts a question he can no longer push aside. What does it mean to win, if winning means the destruction of everything ordinary people have spent their lives building? He has served faithfully, he has fought well, but the violence around him is not abstract. It belongs to real people. People who, like his own mother, were simply trying to survive. For the first time, the two worlds he has always carried inside him begin to pull in opposite directions, and the pull is becoming impossible to ignore. The moral conflict, two loyalties. The moment Guo Jing has been dreading finally arrives. Genghis Khan turns his ambition southward. After the fall of the Jin dynasty, the next target becomes unmistakable: Song dynasty. The homeland his father died defending. The people his mother crossed frozen plains to protect. Genghis Khan offers Guo Jing everything the empire can give: rank, land, and a place among the greatest commanders of his generation. The great Khan does not make this offer lightly. In the Mongol code, there is no higher honor than to be trusted with conquest. Guo Jing refuses, not dramatically, not with anger, quietly, and with full understanding of what the refusal will cost him. And then, Li Ping, his mother, makes the decision for him in the only way she has left. She takes her own life, not out of despair, out of love, out of absolute clarity. Li Ping understands that as long as she lives, Guo Jing will be torn between two obligations: the son who must keep his mother safe, and the hero who must defend his people. She has watched her son carry both worlds his entire life. Now she removes the weight from one side, herself, so that he can walk forward without turning back. Her final act is not death. It is a gift, the freedom to choose, without guilt, without chains, without hesitation. With that, Guo Jing's path becomes absolute. The Great Hero Question. Two definitions. Before the final break, Genghis Khan asks Guo Jing a question that cuts through everything. Who is the greatest hero in the world? For Genghis Khan, the answer is self-evident. The greatest hero is the man who conquers nations, who reshapes the borders of the world, whose name echoes across 1,000 years of history. Greatness is measured in the scale of what you have taken and the permanence of what you have built. Guo Jing's answer is different. For the nation and for the people. This is what it means to be a great hero. Not conquest, not glory, not legacy. The greatest hero is the one who stands between ordinary people and the forces that would destroy them. A hero is not measured by how much of the world he has taken, but by how many lives he has protected. Two men, two definitions, two versions of greatness. Genghis Khan built an empire. Guo Jing chose a city. And history, at least Jin Yong's version of it, remembers them both. The Defense of Xiangyang. The city of Xiangyang stands as the last fortress between the Mongol advance and the heart of Song dynasty. Guo Jing does not go there because he is ordered to. He goes because he understands what it represents. The difference between a world where ordinary people live in peace and a world consumed by the ambitions of empire. Alongside Huang Rong, his intellectual partner and arguably the sharpest strategic mind of their generation, Guo Jing dedicates decades to Xiangyang's defense. Not as a legendary warrior performing heroic feats, but as a commander who organizes, inspires, and exhausts himself in service of people who will never know his name. Payoff. The paradox of Guo Jing. Genghis Khan built an empire on conquest, loyalty, and the absolute subordination of individual conscience to collective power. He raised a boy who embodied loyalty, but whose conscience proved ultimately stronger than his allegiance. Guo Jing is not a rebel. He does not hate the Mongolian people or reject his years on the steppe. What he rejects is the logic of empire, that power justifies suffering, that conquest is its own reward, that ordinary lives are acceptable losses in the calculation of greatness. In a world of brilliant schemers, cunning survivors, and morally ambiguous heroes, Guo Jing is something unusual, a man whose greatest strength is his refusal to be anything other than what he is. Not clever, not ruthless, not strategic, simply and completely good. That is the contradiction Genghis Khan could not have anticipated. When he looked at a child who sheltered his enemy and confessed it without flinching, he had commanded Tolui to befriend a boy with a warrior's heart. He had raised a man with a hero's conscience. Guo Jing stands as Jin Yong's most complete statement about heroism, that it is not the size of a man's power that defines him, but the size of his responsibility toward those who have none. Guo Jing's journey, from a snow-covered plain where his mother gave birth alone and afraid, to the walls of Xiangyang, where he gave everything he had, remains the most complete portrait of heroism in the entire Jin Yong universe. His legend does not end with a single victory, but with a lifetime of choices, each one harder than the last, and each one made with the same quiet, unbreakable resolve. In a world that measures greatness by how much you can take, Guo Jing chose a different question. How much can you preserve and help? Jin Yong created many characters smarter, more talented, and more cunning than Guo Jing, but among them, only Guo Jing is he considered a true hero. Perhaps it's because in a world full of conquerors, it's those who choose not to conquer who are the hardest to be born. If you enjoy stories like this, tales of legendary characters, the world of Wuxia, and the big questions hidden behind swords and swordsmanship, this channel is for you. Each of our videos digs deeper, not just what happened, but why these stories still feel relevant hundreds of years after they were written. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing, because the next story is just as exciting. See you in the next video.